I want to ask you, though, at this point, we've kind of talked about your philosophy, how you're different, but that was on my list of things I wanted to ask you. What we haven't talked about necessarily is we've talked about the caloric um, routine, how to measure that. We've talked about general philosophy, but what we haven't talked about is when it comes to your routine of training your clients. I know you because we've known each other for years. I know you have a different approach to this. And I do want to throw the phrase prehab rehab in here. Not necessarily that's where you want to go first with it, because might take a little foundation to build to it. But I'd like to ask you to talk a little more about why Slade Made is different, and maybe you could start that with why is it called Slade Made Fitness?
Yeah, so Slade Made is,
and just because we're doing that, I'm going to bring the logo up underneath your name there for a moment.
So yeah, Slade Made. The hard thing with picking that name is I didn't want it to come off as like narcissistic or egocentric, because you have like man-made and then you have Slade Made. But it's because I'm helping you develop yourself, and they're the ones doing the work. I'm showing them the door. They're the ones walking through it. But so I recently, even though I've had the name for years, I finally created a definition for it. So excuse me, I'm going to grab my phone here.
No, that's all right. You know what we're going to do? We're going to switch over to my fat head for a minute while you do what you got to do.
No, I got it. So
you ready?
Yeah.
Back to you.
So Slade Made is to strongly believe in yourself enough to overcome excuses and justifications that deny your own capabilities.
So pretty powerful. But because I know of some of the stories that go along with that, I guess, definition you called it.
Yeah.
It speaks a lot to my heart because I know you, and I've seen some of what has come of that. So when you tell us why you want to talk about the definition and what makes Slade Made different.
Well, what makes it different is...
Or you.
Yeah, well, so one thing I do, like I touched on earlier, is like finding the root cause of somebody's, adverse relationship with food or something, or even adverse to exercise, whatever it is. There's a huge emotional component that comes with training, and not every trainer is equipped for that. I've had clients where I was their only trainer, so they didn't know any different, and then they left for a while. Maybe they hit whatever their goal was, or life happened, and they
wouldn't you say that's a good thing, though? I mean, you get to start them off without a different experience. They come to you first, and
I think it's great. The thing I actually like when they...
Are you worried that they're comparing you later down the road?
No,
because nobody would ever need somebody after.
It was eye-opening for me. I enjoyed when they went somewhere else, because the feedback I got was, I didn't realize how much you were doing. Like, I want to train with you again. But like, I had one that specifically was like, I tried telling this trainer about my day, and he just said, yeah, get back to doing your push-ups. Didn't care about her day. And I said, well, yeah, you don't pay him to care about your day. That's what I bring, is I do care about you, and I want to find that. That's why I don't have a massive clientele. I'm very selective about my clientele. I also, like, if you're willing to work hard, I will freaking do everything for you. Now, obviously, you have to do it too. You have to step up to the plate, but it's like, I just try to find, everything is very personalized and individualized, because I have to find your temperament. Like, some people respond better to having more of like a drill instructor sort of thing. Someone else needs you to be a little bit softer. Like, they shut down if you start commanding them that way. So I find out their temperament and what they respond well to. I talked earlier about their self-talk. That's huge, because that was huge for me. The way I used to speak to myself was, you're pushing to get through a workout, and it was very negative. It was like, Slade, stop being a pussy. Keep fucking, like, come on. What are you doing? Stop being a bitch. Let's go. That's how I used to talk to myself.
Yeah.
And then it shifted to, you got this. Keep going. You're a champion. Let's go. Push it. Like, way more uplifting, supportive. And so I catch that with my clients and figure out how do they speak to themselves while we're pushing through a set. How do they speak to themselves when they screw up? And this applies to anything, not just nutrition and fitness, but like we do so good at beating the shit out of ourselves when we do something wrong, and not patting ourselves on the back when we do something right. You know, I've had clients that let's say they followed their nutrition well for 2 weeks and then they had a slip up. And then they will berate themselves so badly. And then I go, okay, did you celebrate those other 13 days when you were on track? Well, no, that's just what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
No, it isn't. You're supposed to do whatever the hell you want. You happen to do something. You happen to take control of your life, and you were doing something great, and you didn't celebrate. Like, make it a positive relationship. Be your own best friend.
So what's your point there? You didn't celebrate the wins.
Right. I only beat the shit out of myself for the losses. And they weren't even losses.
And the reason that you ask why they don't celebrate is because they go so far overboard to berate themselves when they don't do well.
Yeah. They're not, well, because when you're not celebrating and it becomes a reward versus punishment sort of thing, then you get in hot water, because then you're only,
especially when there's no reward, right?
Right.
Yeah, on the days you win,
right, there is no reward.
Yourself.
Exactly. It's only, it becomes only punishment.
Now it's just, I'm just a shit, and everything else is only what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. And it comes from people's own expectations of themselves. I'll have people come into a workout and they'll do something they've never done before. I'm showing them a brand new exercise. They have to remember what the name of the exercise is, how to breathe properly, how to lift it properly, and count their reps. And then they don't do as well as they thought, and they just start getting so mad. And it's like, and I always stop them. I go, you expected to do well at something you'd never done before? Why? Why would you do that to yourself?
I've been there. And I've noticed again, I don't mean to harp on the age thing, but I've noticed again that the older I get, the more father time, as you said, has its effect on me. The more I get disappointed when things don't go perfectly. And it's going to be harder. Mm-hmm. There are things that I think I noticed in my 40s that I can still do, but they're going to take quite a bit more effort than they did in my 30s.
Yeah.
When I got to my 50s, and of course I've let my physical exercise routine slide like it didn't exist at all. But thanks for laughing. I appreciate that. That's nice. That's what you can rely on.
I'm not laughing at you.
Slade Made Fitness. Thank you very much for, I'm joking, of course. But the point being, I got to a certain age where I realized there are some things I used to do and used to enjoy doing. Yeah, I'm just not going to be able to do them anymore. Mm-hmm. Regardless of fitness level and diet routines and taking care of myself physically, you get to a certain point. That's just a thing you used to be able to do. And it's time for new goals or new leisure activities, because the time has caught up with you. Now that's frustrating enough.
Sure. Let
alone beating the shit out of myself because I'm not doing the things I've never done before very well.
And you may need to, touching on that, you may need to just adjust it. Like, you could probably do the same thing. It's just not going to be the same way. That's the other thing I run into, is people giving up on themselves way too early. You talked about kind of my approach. I have a longevity approach that's prehab rehab is what I touch on, which is like, if you already have an injury or a thing, then we're going to rehab it. And if you don't, then we're going to prehab it. We're going to do everything we can to prevent it. So you don't have to wait till your ankle's sprained for us to strengthen your ankles so that you can resist having, or potentially prevent a strain or a sprain.
Sure, especially in professional athletics, we see that. The stronger guys, the bigger women, the ones that train harder and focus on their physical fitness rather than just whatever training they get with their team, if they're, team oriented sport, they get the ones that train hard on their own get a prolonged career. They're stronger. They miss more games they miss fewer games because they're not injury prone, because they're doing the things that they should do to keep themselves strong and almost shields up for avoiding injury. Would you agree with that? I mean, Karl Malone's a great example in Utah because of, the years he played for the Jazz, but he just had a stellar career of missing very few games, if any at all, during his entire career, and a streak of
a lot of those guys back then did it. John Stockton, he never missed. Michael Jordan was huge on that as well. And I mean, Michael Jordan's trainer, I mean, he dialed it down to the point where he would watch the games and have like a clicker in each hand to see how many times he stepped with his left foot versus right, so he could program it properly.
And that's what you're talking about when you bring up rehab.
Well, yeah.
Or prehabbing rather than...
Well, I'll give you a really good example, and this will even feed into what you were just talking about not being able to do stuff anymore. I had a client who had done CrossFit for years, and he came to me and was having knee issues, back issues, shoulder issues, and we cleared a lot of that up. But one of the days I want him to do some chin-ups, okay? And he's like, oh, yeah, I can't do that. It causes me elbow pain. And I was like, oh, how long has that been going on? He's like, oh, a few years or whatever. I just don't do chin-ups anymore. I accepted I can't do that anymore. I'm getting older.
I just did that to you.
You did.
In this conversation.
And I'm going to say bullshit.
Really?
There are certain things. I'm not counting everything. Yes, there are certain things you're not going to be able to do when you're older. But I was like, oh, let's fix that. What are you talking about? Like, that mindset is so foreign to me. You just accepted that. I'm big on acceptance, like live in reality, but what did you try to do before you accepted that nail in the coffin? What did you actually do? Like, that's why it's huge to figure out what someone's version of trying is, because I guarantee mine's a hell of a lot different than yours. A lot of people trying is, I did this thing for 5 days, it didn't work. Or maybe I tried it for 31 days, but I didn't do it on the weekends or Wednesdays because I hang out with my family on Wednesdays. And so, no. For me, how many years did you try that for every fucking day? And
Slade, you just needs to get out of my head. Just really, you're hurting people's feelings now. I hope you're happy.
I know. And I'm not trying to do the whole tough love, no excuses, blah, blah, blah. No, but facts are facts. Yeah. Well, because what did we do? So I gave him a few exercises to work with his elbow. We did a couple, different exercises, different curls and things like that help strengthen for tennis elbow and golfer's elbow. And then I had him, try the chin-ups. And we used a resistance band, so he wasn't doing full on yet. And I was like, hey, how'd that feel? And he was like, well, I'm just waiting for the pain to kick in. And so he's sitting there like tentatively. He's doing chin-up after chin-up after chin-up, and the pain's not coming. And I'm pumped for him. And he was still just like, I'm just waiting for when it hurts. It's like, no, man, get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. I was like, how are you not freaking out right now? You accepted you were never, strong word, never going to do chin-ups ever again. Didn't do them for years because it hurts your elbow. Within 20 minutes, we just got you doing chin-ups, the thing you said you'd never do again. And you did more than one, and it doesn't hurt. You should be shitting your pants right now.
That's pretty cool. But honestly, aren't all personal trainers focused on that kind of thing?
No.
Bold claim.
I know.
Bold claim.
But there's a lot of pieces of shit out there that call themselves trainers. And I'm not meaning, look, I'm not the trainer for everybody. So there's going to be, my philosophy won't work with everybody. I'm going to butt heads with plenty of people. But there are a lot of trainers out there that, and I don't fault them fully for this. I understand because I've had clients like this where so many people are accustomed to, if I'm not sore every time or beat up or can't walk out of the gym, then you didn't work me out right. And that is so far from the truth. But I've lost clients because of that. I lost one. He was super flexible, just naturally. He didn't stretch or anything. He was just born that way. Super flexible. And so he wasn't sore very often. And you don't have to be, by the way. So
What? You don't have to be what?
sore.
You don't have to be sore?
That's not conducive to a good workout, especially if it's every single time.
I mean, come on.
I know.
Really?
I know. So there's plenty of trainers out there that will design a program that gets you sore as hell and beats the shit out of you and stresses the hell out of your system, and then you feel like you got a good workout, and then you'll pay them money. But I'm very much the less is more approach, and I'm going to fix your shit, and you're going to get even better results by doing less. I know what? Like, because the first thing people do when their life gets busy, they get rid of fitness. It's the funniest thing. It's like the one of the analogies is you get a flat tire and then you're so mad that you slash the other three. So it's that same thing. You're planning on going on a road trip.
You're not supposed to do that?
You're not supposed to do that. It's like prepping for a road trip and you drain the oil out of your vehicle and the gas and you go, okay, let's go. Like, it's the first thing people get rid of, right? They have an assignment due. They have something due. What do they remove? The gym, they don't eat properly, and their sleep. The three things that help them function. Why
happens, though? Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's something that we've just seen people do for so long. And there's almost like a pride in that of like, oh, I got this done on 2 hours of sleep. And look, there's times where your time management or just life got in the way. And yeah, you're going to get 2 hours of sleep and suck it up, buttercup, get your shit done. Totally fine with that. But I'm like, instead of staying awake and trying to study for 12 hours straight, sucking down energy drinks and not eating, what if you took like a 20-minute nap, went for a 5-minute walk, had something healthy or maybe some fruit, and then you got to work? Or maybe you don't like fruit. Pick whatever fucking food you want, but that doesn't make you feel lethargic. Yeah. But prioritize your health. And you'll get way better bang for your buck by taking that 20-minute nap. You go, say I don't have 20 minutes. Take a 5-minute nap. Whatever you have. There's times I've had to pull over into a parking lot just for 3 minutes to gather myself, to make sure that I'm in a better headspace. I told one of my female clients, she's a mother, and she was like, we were just finishing up the session, and she's like, oh, I have to go home and I have to make this for my husband and I got to be there for my daughter. And I said, listen, do you have 20 minutes? And she's like, yeah, I should have 20 minutes. I said, when you get home, I said, take a 20-minute bath. So you have a bath, right? She's like, yeah, not a stand-up shower. She's got a bath. She's got a tub. I said, take the 20 minutes and just then go on, help your husband do all the things. And so she followed my advice, and then she messaged me and thanked me and was like, thank you so much. Like, I was a way better wife and mother for way longer because I had the brain power. Because she was already like, zapped out. You have to think of it like the instant charger for your phone. You plug it in for 5 minutes and you get an extra 45 minutes out of it or whatever, right? That's all you're doing. Or, sure, you could be in a pissy mood, hurry home, be stressed, yell at your husband, scream at your child, and be like, well, sorry, I was tired. And I'm not saying don't be human. We have those days. I have those days too. But I will always prioritize my health because it makes me function at the best version of me for myself and everyone else.
Sure. Yeah, if you don't have the vehicle, you're not getting anywhere, right?
Yes.
And to your point, I listened just a week or so ago, Jordan B. Peterson, clinical psychologist.
Yes.
And he talked about that very point that you made about cramming for exams, staying up all night, the energy drinks and the sleepless nights. And in this, he was lecturing to a group of students at University of Toronto. And he says, you do that, right? Because that way it's going to make you prepared for the exam. And he said, but, studies show, and we've done countless studies, it doesn't work what he actually described. So you're getting this from not only a physical standpoint from Slade, but you're getting it from the psychological standpoint from a guy like Jordan Peterson. Like him or don't, if you don't, turn off this podcast and don't listen. He's amazing. The guy,
yes.
I mean, it's just facts. We're not dealing with your feelings. You know, you're not a clinical psychologist.
No,
Neither
no.
am I. He is. And, you know, he delves into that. But it's got to start with facts. This is going to work. This is not going to work. And in between those things, you get things that are less likely to work. They might, but how often?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how often can you expect a 12-hour cram for an exam to actually pay off? And studies show it doesn't pay off. So why would it pay off for the type of work you do with clients who have the goals that they come to you wanting to achieve?
Well, people trick themselves because they'll achieve the goal. So they'll cram the 12 hours, they won't sleep, they'll get the energy drinks, and then they'll pass the assignment. So in their mind, oh, it worked. And it's like, yeah, true, it did work, but there is a more efficient way.
Right.
You could have made that much easier on yourself.
Yeah.
But they will use those bias results and get confirmation bias within themselves of, well, that worked, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, it's getting you results, but for how long, and are you really pleasurable to be around when you're behaving that way? And I'll ask my clients, the very first thing I ask my clients when they arrive to me is, how are you feeling? And I usually say, how are you feeling physically first? And then they can go into the rest, because that can completely change what kind of session we're about to have. Sometimes I have it programmed to where I'm going to have them try to hit a new, we're going to find out, their deadlift max that day or their PR. And they're like, yeah, I only got a few hours of sleep last night. I didn't eat breakfast this morning, but I made it here. Okay. Well, thanks for telling me. Now we're not going to do the things I was going to do, and we're going to tone this down and adjust it based on where you're at today in this moment. And that's a huge thing too.
To get the best results out of today's workout?
Yes.
Because otherwise, if you just stick to a schedule, it's detrimental. You can't just take a human frame, a human body in psychology, and make it do things, even if it's not fueled up and prepared for that thing.
I mean, look, you can push them. They could do it. The military does it all the time. There's a purpose for that. But it's like, why would I push you today and risk injury? And that's the other thing. Live to train another day. Because if you come in, you're running off a few hours of sleep, you haven't eaten breakfast, and I'm not saying breakfast is the thing you got to do, but whatever, you're low energy already, you've had nothing, now let's put a bunch of weight for you to lift, now you hurt yourself, now you're out of the gym for, a month, 3 months, longer.
Well, and not to mention, if, you come in on 2 hours of sleep, the scenario you shared leading up to this conversation, and you force yourself, I mean, that's a recipe for, I don't want to go work out anymore. And, it's not that baffling to discover why people commit to a, physical fitness goal and abandon it in no time at all, because we do that to ourselves. You have to work out at the same level of intensity every time you work out, or you're a failure.
Yep. Which
leads to you being a failure.
Yeah, and it's not
baffling.
It's meet yourself where you're at that day.
That's I don't know if you know how monumentally just mind changing that is, just hearing it from you today. And we've had a lot of conversations about physical fitness training, diet, meaning actual intake,
what you eat,
not dieting.
Yep.
For the sake of, I'm going to cut weight, so I'm going to go on a diet, a lose weight diet. But yeah, train for who you are today, not for who you were last time you trained, because, and I like the concept too. I mentioned my business consultant experience with Garrett J. White and Wake Up Warrior, and they talk about this quite often. It's being who you are in the moment is the only true way to be productive, to get somewhere, But talk a little bit maybe about the need to push a little beyond versus what we've just discussed.
Well, so the way that you find any of these things is you have to find the boundaries first. So I'm not against ever pushing yourself. It's like, no, no, no. You need to experience both so that you know where the happy medium is, where that middle is. So you need to be a lazy shit where you do nothing. You sit around all day and you eat potato chips and you feel like ass and you just don't want to get up and you didn't get anything done. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's one level, right? And then you need to push yourself and go to that dark place and to where you can't lift that weight anymore and you're about to pass out and your legs are shaking and you're dizzy and all those things. And now you go, okay, I found both extremes. You don't have to do them the same day and you don't have to do them in the same week. And you don't have to do it every time. That's key too. So once you know, okay, that's a little too little of exercise and effort. This is a lot and way too much. Where's the happy medium? And then that's where you play. And then occasionally, depending on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to improve your mental fortitude or whatever, then yeah, maybe you need to push a little more. But until you find those boundaries, you don't know what you're capable of yet. So I've had clients like that.
Every day can't be a max out day.
Exactly.
Because there's no standard. Max out days don't ever see much increase in your max, right?
Right. You want to do a max and then you work from percentages off of that. But yeah, you're not going to be maxing out every week or every month or anything like that. That's not, you have to be looking at this long term. And I know it's very cliche, but it really is a lifestyle change. You have to, it's a forever game. That's the thing. Like I've even told my clients, they get all frustrated. It's like, if you hit your goal tomorrow, let's just say you did, we clap our hands, you hit your goal tomorrow, perfect aesthetic that you want, you feel amazing, everything, right? Now you have to maintain. Just like buying a house. You don't just buy the house and then it never has a plumbing issue. You never have to paint the walls. No. It doesn't mean you have to constantly buy a house every time, but you got to maintain the house. You got to add some paint here and there. You got to fix this up. You got to keep it going. And slowly over time, you accumulate stuff. I mean, I'm sure most people have experienced this. When you first get a house, unless it's already furnished, you find out, oh shit, like there's a lot to furnishing, not just the expenses, but what style do I want? How do I want it to look? And over time, as you accumulate more things, it grows, and then you get the look that you want, the aesthetic that you want. It becomes more warm and homely and whatever. And it takes time. And the body is no different, and your finances are no different, and all those other things. So just know, I tell my clients that too. This is either going to be the most depressing news you've ever heard or some of the most relieving, which is it doesn't end. So pick your poison, because
the thing about it is that it doesn't end.
It doesn't end. It never ends.
They have to keep coming and looking at you.
And and exactly what you said earlier.
This is why you come to Gentleman
You're getting
Barber,
older,
though.
right?
Look at you.
We're all getting older, so your training will adjust dependent on that. Your intensity is going to adjust. So it never ends. You always are focused on it because you're not the same person you were day to day, year to year, decade to decade. So as that changes, you have to be making incremental changes. And so it does not end if it's something that you want to apply to your life. But that's what I love about it, is it's constantly changing and it's fun and it doesn't end. And I like seeing where my body's at. And that's why I like at the gym too, is it gives me an assessment of where I'm at just that day emotionally, where I'm at physically. Maybe I go into the gym and I can't lift as much as I did the day before. It's like, well, was that because the intensity was too much? How was my sleep last night? How's my mood today? Am I going to get frustrated that I can't lift as much? And now I'm an asshole to the next person I run into. No, I meet myself where I'm at. Maybe I do less reps or a little bit lighter weight with, I flex harder, better engagement, but less weight, whatever. Maybe I cut my workout in half because that's just where I'm at that day. But I'm satisfied because I still showed up at the gym. And then I can still be a good person to the following person because I'm not brain dead by pushing through it. But you do, going back to finding those boundaries, I've had clients that have never pushed themselves to that place. I have some that they either never lifted before or they did when they were like in high school, and now it's been a few decades. So they get to that part where your muscle's kind of burning and they're like, oh, I need to stop. And it's like, no, we're going to push through that. And those are the things that get them to ask for that promotion or to leave that bad relationship. It's, oh, I actually am capable of doing a little bit more than I realized.
Working through adversity,
Yes.
working through the burn
Adversity breeds growth.
instead of giving up or quitting the moment there is some resistance.
Yep.
So it's not enough just to lift weights to the point where your muscles get tired.
Right.
So sometimes it is worthy of pushing beyond that. But what maybe we should shift over to, we've talked a lot about the philosophy you have in that making Slade Made different from the rest, or from many others anyway, and you in particular, your approach to it. What about that have we left out? I mean, what on that topic, what makes you different? What is not there? How do you take clients? How do they pay you? What are the routines? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
And let us know, people who, the one person that will watch this, which is probably me.
Yeah. I'll watch it. Two people will watch it.
Two of us. There's two. That's a win. But yeah, maybe if we're, if this subject is, I'd like to have you back again and again and again. And we've talked about that a little bit. We have, plans for our own side thing that's not about Beyond Barbering and Gentleman Barber and my friends and clients as guests. But what element might be missing? Because I would like to talk a little bit before we're done today about your fight career. And I don't want to cut this short and leave something out that you feel like is important about your philosophy, or what makes you and Slade Made a different experience or approach.
Well, I guess so. First, when I get a client, I'm reading body language and I'm assessing if they're going to be honest with me. So I've had to drop clients before after like a month of training with me. They'll pay for a month. And that's the thing. You just pay per session, or you can pay for the whole. It's totally up to you. But
so you have a month-to-month membership kind of idea that.
It's just per session. So if somebody's like, I want to just train one session a week, so 4 sessions a month, they can buy them all in bulk, or they can pay me at the end of every session. The very first thing I do is we'll have a consultation. Sometimes I do consultation and assessment the same day if I've had enough correspondence with them with email or whatever. But if I need more background, then I'll have a full-on just consultation, which can be 45 minutes to an hour. And then we do a physical assessment. And both of those are free. I don't charge for those. And then even after the first session, I give them a chance. Like, hey, if that sucked, you don't have to pay me. We can go our separate ways, whatever. And all I'm trying to do is get a gauge on obviously their body and what they want. I usually am having to give them a dose of reality is usually what it is. As people come in, they have their goals. They say, I want to lose this much in this amount of time, or I want to whatever. And then I get to go, okay, that's realistic, or that's not going to happen. And I'm huge on baby steps. Because so many people want to change 5 different habits or something. They're like, I'm going to get a trainer. I'm going to sleep better. I'm going to eat better. It's like, reality check. No, you're not. You're not. Sorry. Here's the thing. You want.
Why can't they do all those things at once? Why is that not? I mean, I know I'm asking it with a smile on my face.
I'm not saying it's not possible. But
why is it not?
But you have to know yourself. It's very hard to build a habit. And if you want faster results in anything, it means greater sacrifice. Have you sacrificed? And if you have, how heavily? Like, sure, we can get you to lose a ton of weight in a quick amount of time, but it's not going to be as healthy. Are you willing to take that sacrifice? Are you able to do it every day? The days where you're super hungry and you can't eat anymore because you've already hit your caloric amount, are you going to be able to push through that?
But that's the kind of thing what it sounds like you're describing is every year around New Year's, the resolutions come out and all these big broad sweeping goals are, even written down and posted on the refrigerator under a magnet somewhere, right? But it doesn't actually follow for very long, if it ever does at all, or does it? I mean, is that what you're speaking
That's kind of
to?
what I'm touching on, is people set too large of expectations for themselves, without just being.
And it's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic. You have to be just brutally honest with yourself.
Putting it into deeper perspective, it's you're overburdening yourself. You're not being fair to yourself.
You're not. Basically, you're stacking the deck against yourself and then getting mad when you fail. And then it completely hinders you from continuing your pursuits, because then you think, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't do it. It's like, no, you're very fully capable of doing it. You just bit off way more than you could chew way too soon by saying, I'm going to get a trainer, which is already a huge change. And now I'm going to improve my sleep, which you haven't really done before. And what is that going to take? How many steps is that going to change in your day-to-day? Cutting out artificial light later in the night, not messaging that friend back, not looking at YouTube, whatever. Okay. Oh, well, now I'm also going to eat better. All right. And I'm going to start tracking. So have you ever done that before? Like, it's a lot to take on to change all these things. So I'm huge on baby steps. Like, when a client comes to me, and this gives me a look at their mentality too, I try to just change one thing at a time. So they'll say, I want to change this, that, and the other. And I go, yeah, okay, that's great. We're going to get to that. But like right now, let's say that they don't drink enough water. That's the first goal. I just say, how's your water intake? I think it's pretty good. Okay, what's pretty good to you? Now we have to get on the same definition. I drink one of these a day. They point to an 8-ounce bottle.
How much are you drinking?
Like, okay,
is what you're asking.
Yes.
But it's,
and they go,
you've got to focus
specify
in that question to get the kind of answer you're looking for.
Yeah, because everybody's definitions. I've had clients that are like, oh, I drink a lot of water. And they'll point to an 8-ounce bottle and go, I drink one of these a day. You have 8 ounces of water a day. Wow. And then I go, that's great. You think that's a lot? So we have different definitions of a lot then. Yeah. And that's okay. Sure. But now I know where they're coming from. So at first I'll be like, I want you to just drink one more of those a day. So I want 16 ounces. That's easy. I mean every day. I don't mean I didn't feel like it Monday. I got overwhelmed from work. I'm still tired from the weekend. I'm a little hungover from it, so I didn't get the water. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. I just got to get over the hump. No water.
It's remarkable to me how much drinking a little bit of extra water, up to drinking an appropriate amount more water, actually provides me more energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knew we're mostly water and that we need it to function properly?
I've been really, sarcasm aside, the conversations you and I have had, I'll get a gut ache after eating certain foods. And that's something new now that I'm my age. There's almost literally no food I can eat that doesn't give me some stomach, discomfort. It's amazing how much a glass of water on a, little crampy or kind of sour stomach rights a lot of wrongs.
Yes.
A headache. Well, barring just dehydration headache, right?
Sure.
A headache, a stomach issue after a meal, a little extra water, and it dilutes it, and I feel better, and I feel more energized when I'm drinking more water. So that's a big tip, and you haven't even paid for it.
And you can get water through other things. Like, it doesn't just have to be plain water. If you have coffee, there's water in that. You can the flavored stuff. Some people just don't like the flavor of water, and they like, I want to use that Mio stuff or some sort of electrolyte flavoring, whatever. Fine. As long as you're getting, if that is better than the zero water you were consuming before, then yeah, add a little bit of it. But I'll just start with something that's just an example, but something small like that. And then if they can do that for 7 days, now I know they can show some consistency. But doing anything for a week is child's play, especially a new client. I always tell them, and I'm not trying to crush them, but I just say, look, anybody can be motivated for a month. Anybody can even stick for 2. I'll see where you're at by month 3 and month 4 and month 6, because that's when shit starts really hammering, and that's when it gets hard for people is Well, now I don't. When motivation fades, and now it's I don't really want to get up today.
You backtrack to the Carbon app that you were talking about. A 2-week period is your first benchmark to learn the first 2-week lesson. You don't really start learning from that, neither does the app, until you string several 2-week periods together.
Yeah.
So a week of drinking more water not being much of an indication.
And that's another definition you have to get down. 2 weeks. When I say 2 weeks, I mean 14 days, consecutive days. That's what I mean. Because some people
not
think
taking Sunday off because we don't work on Sunday, or Saturday is for family and we don't drink water on Sunday.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm just you know what? I'll come to you for fitness training, Slade. I'm happy to come to you. I'm confident you'll help me, but I'm not drinking water on Saturdays.
Yeah.
You can't make me do that. That's some bullshit. What kind of draconian asshole are you with the water on Saturdays?
I know. I'm
taking
the worst.
A break from water for a little while. Water and me had a
disagreement.
Yeah.
So it's just starting with that, and that's telling me like how consistent they are. Are they actually gonna do as they say? Are they a person of their word? Do they have integrity?
Right. I've seriously had clients in my barbershop who have said to me, I started drinking more water. I felt really great, but then I had to go to the bathroom all the time, so I had to cut that out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think to myself, I've thought that. I've been annoyed by, oh man, another trip to the bathroom. Yeah, it sucks that I feel like 80% better than I did when I wasn't drinking this much water. But these damn trips to the bathroom have got to come to an end. This is,
Well, and there's pros and cons to every choice. Yeah. So it's like, I would rather feel better.
Yes.
Than the other. But another thing too is like, I used to drink a gallon of water a day. I'd carry the gallon of water. I realized
I remember that.
You don't need a gallon. Like that's a little much. So really, as long as your urine is light yellow to clear, you're good. If your lips aren't super dry and you're sweating and all these things to show that you're properly hydrated, you're good. You don't have to drink so much. Also, the spacing of it out will matter. Are you going to be exercising? You might want to have more water before you exercise, so you can, or sip on it during your exercise. I tend to have my largest amount of water when I very first wake up, because you haven't had anything for about 6 to 8 hours, or 10, or however long you sleep for. So you are a little bit dehydrated. So get up. You can have a lot more and not have to go pee a ton of times. You have that, then you have your whatever. And
I've sidetracked you again because that's what I do. I mean, we've known each other for a dozen years now, and I just sidetrack Slade. He can't finish a thought without me, interrupting. But I'm so excited to hear myself talk. But the point was, of course, that you're gauging what a new client is capable of or willing.
Yeah, and I'm going to see if they're going to be honest with me, because it's a trainer relationship is no different than any other relationship. It has to come from trust. There must be trust, which means you need to be brutally honest with me. If you didn't drink water because you didn't feel like it, tell me that. If you ate pizza when we agreed you weren't going to have any, tell me that.
Then the shaming can start.
Yeah, they'll shame themselves. I don't. I always give them a high five. That's the other thing. If you're going to do the thing, you already did it. So don't beat the shit out of yourself as you do. What's the fun of that as you frown as you're shoving a chocolate sundae in your face? Like, come on. It's like, no. So I always...
Mine is usually tears.
Yeah, there you go. Sobbing. They're lubricated in your tears because you like the salty sweet. I get it.
I eat all that stuff and I smile all the way through it because, I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
But that takes, I'm at the other unhealthy extreme.
So
I'm like, there are no consequences to this whatsoever. And then later it's like, damn it, I'm 5 pounds heavier. What the hell happened? I ate a sundae for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for like 3 months, and I've gained 5 pounds. That would be a feat of magic by itself. Only 5 pounds on that diet. Anyway, your point is
my point is to have a healthier relationship, and I guess, yeah, you've been trying to have me define or explain like what separates me from other trainers. I'm sure I do a lot of the same things that other trainers do, but I just make it very individual, personalized, and I'm just heavily emotionally there for my clients, and a big thing too is I walk my own talk. There's trainers out there that I've seen that are not aesthetically in the best shape, and so they're not necessarily following their own advice, and I'm not opposed to that. That's just not how I personally want to do it. I don't want to hear financial advice from a homeless man. He might say all the right things. He might have read a beautiful financial book and have it memorized and be able to recite it. He might not be wrong, but I don't take much credit with that. I want to see you walking your talk, because why are you telling me to do it when you're not doing it?
Right.
Why should I be doing it then? So
I hate the little cliched things like leading by example, right? But it's a tried and true cliche for a reason, right? And I have a coach who talks about dominion versus domination, right? You practice dominion by doing the things that you want to surround yourself with. Yeah. And when you actually do those things yourself, it's amazing how magnetic it is. Other people either are drawn to you and your example, or you just naturally attract other similar experiences and philosophies. And the opposite is to expect everybody around you to change to be what you want them to be, rather than, doing your thing your way and trusting that it will attract like-minded things to your world. And dominating somebody else never works. If it works at all, it's very short-lived. So what I know, because I know you, is that that's not your approach. You would rather not have the client than to have a client that you have to dog and berate and yell at and chase, right?
Yeah.
I think that's an important part of it, helping. I think part of your approach that I've seen, not firsthand in your gym, but in our relationship and in, as you've developed your philosophy toward this, is that element that you want to bring people further along as they practice dominion over their own house, rather than telling them how they should set their house in order and operate every day. That to me is a big thing that sets you apart from what I've heard other people talk about with personal trainers, or what I've seen online in the gimmicky people and the nonsense. I think it's, there's a lot of bullshit in the physical fitness world.
That's on.
And, a more hands-on, that direct approach you talk about is really, I think, it makes sense to me that it would be really important. I'm not in the physical fitness training industry myself, but if you can't be honest, get the fuck out.
Get out. Yeah. Well, because if you're lying to me, you're lying to yourself, and I can't respect that.
Right.
I can sympathize with it. I get it, but we're wasting each other's time, and it's like I said earlier, if you're willing to work hard, I'll give you the world. But it's also providing somebody with enough tools that they don't need me. I don't need forever clients. I don't want forever clients. I mean, it's not that I have anything against work with my client. I love them. I've had some for years and years, and I think that's great. And if that's what they want and that's what works, good. But I also want to be like, I don't want them to be reliant on me.
You'd rather teach them for a time.
I'm trying to create them to be self-reliant. Yes. It's like, I'm going to provide you with the tools. It's on you to actually practice them, utilize them, and know how to, I'll show you how to use them, but then you're going to have to get some tools of your own or adopt those.
Sure.
And as far as keeping people consistent or walking my talk, my clients keep me on point just as much as I'm trying to keep them on point. That's why I love it, is it's mutually beneficial, because I don't feel right telling my clients to do something that I'm not doing. And I guess that's one thing that separates me from some trainers, is I will never have you do an exercise or a program or something that I myself have not done. I just don't feel right about it. So typically what I'll do if I want to incorporate a new exercise or something, excuse me, is I will read the literature on it. I will then test it myself to see if it matches the literature, if I'm feeling it in the right muscle group that it says. I'll do it for about a month, maybe longer if it's something I want to continue to incorporate, and then I will have a client. I'll put it in their program. But I'm never going to design something that I haven't tried and then go, well, figure that out. And then they go, I'm feeling it here. And then I don't know, well, the textbook didn't say you were going to feel it there. That's weird. Like, I just don't feel right about, like, I want to know exactly what it feels like.
You don't feel it there. It says right here, right?
It says
right
here,
in the book, you're not supposed to feel it there. So you got to be wrong.
Yeah.
What is your attitude toward competition? Like, and I don't mean like training somebody in a competitive sport or a competitive arena of some sort, but I mean other competing personal trainers out there. What is your take on that? Do you worry about what other gyms or what other trainers do?
Nope.
Why not?
I think.
Why are we on me, Slade? There we go. Why? Why?
I think, you'll get too convoluted. You'll get too much stuff in the way if you're worried about what everybody else is doing. There are a lot of trainers that I've ran into that they believe they found like the secret to fitness, and they don't want to share anything. They don't want to tell you, and it's like, well, how'd you learn the information you learned? Because somebody was willing to share it. So, like, I don't have the secret to fitness. I just want to help as many people as possible with as many areas of their life that I'm able to help them in. So I will give information out for free. I will. I don't follow what other trainers are doing, because you see that with you see that in Hollywood, right? Like a film does really well, and then suddenly you see all these shittier versions of that movie over and over for like years until it finally has worked its way out, and then they go, oh, the public's not paying for it anymore. Let's do the next thing, and then it works, and then they make another line of shitty a lot of shitty movies. And you see that in the fitness world, or people with their business. You see how somebody runs their online business, and then they try to copy and paste. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not my way. I don't worry about competition, because I feel like the work speaks for itself. If you're getting someone results, then you're going to be fine. If you're being honest with people and you're respected by people, you're going to be fine. And most of my clientele comes from word of mouth anyway, and that's all that matters. I never tell my clients like, hey, could you go find me clients, or can you? They say it because
they do it naturally.
Because that's. I don't need to. If you see a movie that you liked, continue using the movie analogies, but if you see a movie you like, what do you normally do?
Tell somebody about it.
Yeah. You say, have you seen X, Y, or Z? That movie is fucking awesome. You got to go see it. I saw it twice. If you eat at a great restaurant, you don't go and look through Yelp reviews. Some people do, but your friend tells you, and then that's what gets you to do it. So I just recently had a client. It's a bit of a side tangent, but she sprained her ankle really badly, and she went to a couple doctors or whatever, and they were like, yeah, you're going to need surgery. And she's like, shit. She's already been out for months. And she likes rock climbing, and I'm friends with her husband, so that's he's telling me about this, and I go, just have her come in for an assessment. Let's just have her. Don't have her get surgery yet. Just have her come in. Right. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not claiming to be. But she came in. We did the assessment. She decided not going to need surgery. I told her, you don't need surgery. We can fix this. And we've had 5 sessions so far. So about 5 weeks.
Is this the woman you told me about with the ankle?
Yeah. And she just messaged me this last weekend. It was Friday. So a few days ago, and she was like, hey, do you think that it would be okay for me to attempt, some rock climbing, some light rock climbing? And I said, yeah, go ahead. What we've seen so far, your ankle can hold you. It's okay. Like it's probably gonna be a little sore or tender, but go for it. And she sent me this beautiful long message about how she is so happy and that all the work is paying off. She was actually able to rock climb. She went very light with it. So not only is she back to doing what she was doing, but she's not depressed because she's thinking she's got to look at a surgery now. And it's like there's no way of avoiding the exercises. That's what people don't understand. I'm not adverse to surgery, but it really should be a last resort. And there's so many things you can try before getting cut into. It's like, okay, so if you do get the surgery, you still have to go to physical therapy afterwards. Or you need to do exercises, prehab, before the surgery to get it strong enough so that it's not in such a bad spot after the surgery.
Absolutely.
With atrophy and everything. So there's no getting away from the exercises.
Right.
You either do them before the surgery or you get the surgery and you do them after, and then you're supposed to keep doing
And how many
them.
people do we hear of that get the surgery and the exercises are that much more painful after the fact, or that much longer drawn out?
All the time. So if I have to do the exercises anyway, I'll avoid getting cut into, save my money, and sure, it might take a little longer, but I would way rather do that. And she's not the only client that I've been able to avoid or keep from getting surgery, which I'm very proud of, that they trust me and then they take their rehab seriously. And just the fact that she's back to doing what she loves, she didn't need to get cut into, she saved herself a bunch of money, and her ankle is not only is it going to be stronger than what it was because we're strengthening both, she's had some balance issues in the past and said her balance has always been bad, and we're going to fix that up too. So it's just, those are the things. Like she told me that she went to work and was like, you got to work with Slade. You just, I don't care what you're like, go work with Slade. She's already told her coworkers. I never asked her to do that. I never told her go and tell people about me or anything. It's just the results will drive themselves. I don't pay attention to other competition. I'm competing with me. That's it. Always.
That's a very healthy approach. I've been a barber for years, as you well know, and most of you. But yeah, I used to have barbers that worked here, and they'd say, well, have you seen the barbershop down the road that's opened up? And I'm like, yeah, pretty cool, huh? More barbers mean better things for the industry. As barbershops reestablish and, the old-fashioned, more traditional barbershop, they're like, well, aren't you worried about that? I'm not worried about that at all. And it sounds like you have the same attitude. If you take care of what you're there to do for your clients, then it doesn't matter what the competition does. Would you say that's accurate in the way you look at your approach?
Yeah, I would say I don't even view them as competition. If there's other trainers out there that are helping other people, good.
The more,
then we're on the same team.
Literally, the more the
merrier.
On, the better it is for humankind in general.
Yes, that's what I care about. I compete with myself.
If they're not bringing their money to you instead,
I don't care. I've even, if there's a client that comes to me and has a request that doesn't really fit my style, maybe they want to do a physique competition, maybe they want to learn how to power lift or do kettlebell work. Yeah, I know a few kettlebell exercises, but there are kettlebell specialists out there. There's physique competition bodybuilding specialists. I'll send them to a different trainer if I know of one that is in that specialty. Or I just say, I'm not the one you're looking for. I could probably help you to this point, but if you really want to take it to the next level, I'm not your guy. And I have no problem with that. My ego is not in the way because it's what's best for the client, not me. And I already take care of me. And like I said, my competition is me. I have a couple rules that you want a safe and effective training session, number one. Okay. So that's every session. Safe and effective training session, number one. Then I want to have, I want you to leave the gym in a better place than you arrived in. Okay. Whether that be emotionally, physically, whatever. And those are my main goals. So as long as I hit those, which so far I've had 100% success rate with that. No one has ever shown up feeling one way and left feeling worse after seeing me.
That's a big deal.
In years. They can show up in they had a rough day at work. All right, well, let's fix that shit. And so I pride myself on that. If they left feeling worse, then I didn't do my job. And so that's what I focus on. I just focus on my effort and what I can control every single day. And that's it. Every day, every session, in the moment. I do not worry what other trainers or anyone else is doing because I can't control what they're doing.
That's always been my philosophy on business. I work here, and my mentor from my training in barbering used to say, look, don't talk about the competition. One, why would you give them advertising in your space? And two, you don't work there. So you may talk about what the other guy does, but you have no way of knowing whether what you're saying is accurate. So if you're criticizing, you might not be accurate. Likely is not, you're not, because you aren't on the inside there, or you might be talking about your own business if you work somewhere else. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to talk about things you don't actually know anything about. And isn't that part of being honest with one another, your clients with yourself, right? And your clients being honest with themselves. So if you had a client that wanted to switch to a different trainer, it sounds like you encourage that.
Yes. It's whatever benefits the client most. And maybe they only need to see that trainer for a short time and then they come to me for something else. Or maybe like, I just want what's best for the client, whether I'm part of it or not. So as whatever gets them the optimal results for their life, with their personality.
Far too adult.
That's
I don't.
That's what I want.
What the hell is wrong with you? You're supposed to scrape and claw and scratch for every client you can get, and steal clients from other people, aren't you?
With our competition, the other thing is, you don't live in their shoes. You don't know their actual situation. Whatever they're promoting, you don't know their financial situation. They can tell you, but unless you're actually looking at their profit and loss statements or their taxes or whatever, they could just be blowing smoke. So why am I going to concern myself with what the hell they're doing when it could all be a charade? It could all be, oh, they're making more money, and they might have more bills. They might have more expenses.
So you don't do this for the money?
Not at all. No. And that's the funny thing. Whenever I tell people I'm a trainer, they're like, "Oh, that's good money, or you can get good." It's like, yeah, you can, but my philosophy, just when it comes to money in general, I really just don't care that much.
Do you find that it's easier to come by what you need with that take? Like you're not chasing money.
Yeah.
I've found that not chasing money makes money available as I need money. With exceptions. I mean, there's some rare exceptions where that's not foolproof, but most of the time when I chase money, it seems to become more scarce.
Becomes elusive, yeah.
Yeah, not more plentiful.
Yeah. By
focusing and get the point clear. I mean, by focusing specifically on only money never works for me. Yeah. Would you say same thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just never been my focus, and it's not because I'm living some lavish lifestyle where it's not a priority or whatever. Sure. It's like I use it to the amount that I'm required to use it. I obviously cover my bills and stuff, but I really, it's not about, because money comes and goes. But if you can change somebody's life, or if you can get them back to rock climbing, or you can get them to do a chin-up that they said they would never do, that impact is lasts their lifetime.
Where are they going to go? Right?
That will stick with them. That's a core memory now. That'll stick with them for a lifetime. Money will come and go, and you can make money so many different ways. It's not. The reason why I fell in love with fitness is because I felt like, from my perspective, and of course I'm biased, but it seemed to impact people in a positive way on every level when it comes to a human being, and it could have the greatest impact. Meaning, if I could show somebody how to eat properly and take care of their health, and then they're better to their relationship with their spouse or whatever, and then their child, if they decide to procreate, sees the healthy relationship with the parents, sees that they're eating right, can teach the child how to eat right. Now that family and that generation, and it just can continue to blossom and affect every part of your life if you allow it to, and if you follow it. I've seen plenty of like stay-at-home moms, or even some moms that do part-time work, that have prioritized their fitness, and their kids are healthy, and they have healthy relationships, they're physically healthy, they're in sports. It's such a beautiful thing to see it transfer everywhere, because I've also seen the opposite. I've had clients where their parents never knew how to cook. They bought fast food only.
Right.
And that kid has a bunch of health issues. And I'm not even shaming fast food. You can still eat it and get results. But it's like they don't know how to cook. So they're spending more money. So their finances aren't in the best spot. And maybe their health markers aren't in the best spot. And they have such a harder road to get through than the other parents that led by example and showed what a healthy relationship was, because they were eating right and sleeping right.
In this case, you have parents who led by example in both scenarios.
Yeah.
Just one example was a harder road if and when the time comes where nutrition and fitness becomes important to the child.
Yep.
Because they have to relearn everything. And I think most of us kind of do. I mean, the way the fitness and nutrition industry has changed in the last 10 years is baffling to me. That's where I get a little caught up. Mm-hmm. So in the places where nobody knows what's real and what's not anymore. There's been all the fads, the gimmicks, the truth, varying degrees of the truth, and then the science and medicine and practices that catch up and say, all right, we've learned more. And now this is what we know works better than what we knew, 2 years ago. So there's room for that. I do want to say that.
Sorry, real quick.
Go ahead.
I want to simplify this even more. I don't even give a shit what the literature says sometimes. What makes you feel the best, and what can you do consistently that makes you feel the best?
What will you continue to do?
Do that.
Yeah.
I don't care if the literature says don't drink Kool-Aid every day, but you drink Kool-Aid and that makes you the best damn dad in the world, and you get through your workouts and you fuel it with Kool-Aid, and you're like, and you are feeling awesome and you're happy and you're playing with your kids, drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. I know that's, it's a clever little slogan there. Drink the Kool-Aid.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Right? Yeah. Go to Slade Made Fitness and drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Just not the grape flavor. It wasn't really Kool-Aid at that island. They used the off-brand.
Yeah.
This is what I do. The madcap adventures of my inner workings. We are a little over 2 hours, and I think what we'll do is take this, and I will split this into 2 segments.
Nice.
But we didn't get to talk about your fight career, so I think you've already kind of said that you would agree to come back and maybe let me get you on screen here.
Career might be a bit of a stretch.
Okay, but still, you're one of my badass heroes out there in the world, because, well, most everybody here has just been able to hear or see why. And it's, just the philosophy you have in life, you've taken into your career, and it's, it's always been something that I've admired and respected about you. But I think you said that you'd be willing to come back, and we can maybe do a version of this chat and show a little bit of maybe some clips from your, am I correct? It's called MMA fight. Okay. Because I know they're different.
You think I'm going to come back and do this shit again?
I doubt it, really. You have no idea, but it took over an hour to get actually ready to do this shit. So, but before we do that, before we, call it off at around 2.25 hours.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I have no problem with that. I just trying to respect your time. I know you have clients, and we want this to be, chunks that people will consume, because I think it's been a good conversation. Before we go there, I'm going to isolate you again and say, open forum. What haven't we talked about that you would like to, or? I
mean, really, I just hope that I tied up. I know we bounced around a little bit, and so
mostly my fault.
No. When we go back and watch this, there was probably some questions that I didn't quite get to the answer of. Maybe but I can't recall right now. So, no, I think I said there's nothing that I feel like I didn't touch on that based on your questions and what I feel is important.
So what else could we have accomplished for your satisfaction today?
Nothing. I feel satisfied.
There you go. We did fine.
Yeah.
Slade's happy. I don't know why you're not. So I'm happy. It has been a lot of fun. We are talking about doing a podcast that will be separate from this, just you and me, and that we'll maybe share some more information about that when you come back. How do people contact Slade Made Fitness if they want to? And do you want to put that in here? I mean, like to see new clients.
I don't have like a website or anything. People usually just go to my Instagram, or you can find me on Facebook. If you just type in Slade Nevarez, you'll find me. The only one. But
once again, Slade
sorry,
Nevarez. I'm going to make this big.
But I think my Instagram is Slade Made Fit. And then my Facebook is just my name, and that might even be set to private because it's both are kind of a mixture of I don't have a separate for my business page. It's personal and
there it is. Slade Made Fit.
Slade Made Fit's my Instagram, yeah, and then Facebook. But either one, if you just type in Slade Nevarez, you'll find either one.
And there it is, larger than life. You can see it. In fact, for a minute, it was covering your face.
Oh, and
who doesn't want Slade on their face?
I train out of a place called Trainer Zone Fitness. It's personal training only. So there's a variety of different trainers there, and we all have set our own rates. It's like basically a booth rental thing. So we have our own.
So you operate independently inside
Trainer Zone
it's
Fitness.
Trainer Zone Fitness.
Yes.
I like the name because it's
and there is a website for that. So you can go to trainerzonefitness.com. There's Instagram on that as well. And then you'll be able to find all the trainers' information, mine as well as everyone else.
See if I can do this real quick here, Slade, while you talk.
Okay.
About Trainer Zone Fitness.
Yeah, like I said, there's other trainers there with different specialties. We got a guy, Jordan, that specializes in softball and softball
Did you
teams,
say
baseball.
It's trainerzonefitness.com?
Yep, Trainer Zone Fitness, just like that. And yeah, it's great. It's a small
.com,
like a fairly small, just very personal, private space. That also helps for clients that haven't trained before or that don't like the big box gym and having a bunch of people look at them or feel.
So if you go to trainerzonefitness.com, can they find each individual trainer in there? So they can go there and find information about your particular brand of...
Yeah, my email will be on there, slademadefitness@gmail.com. My Instagram should be on there. You'll be able to contact me. And then as well as all the other trainers.
Slade Made Fitness at Gmail?
At gmail.com, yeah.
So there's that. Anything else you have on your mind?
Just thanks for having me.
Oh, man.
Appreciate it.
Look at that sexy bitch. Look at him.
Right hey, I'm only sexy because you cut my hair.
That's right. It's the only reason
that
you are as sexy as you are.
I look homeless until you put the touches up on me.
That's all bullshit, and I think we all know it.
It's not called Beyond Barbering for no reason.
Well, Beyond Barbering is about something else, and that is about you. I have a lot of really impressive and intriguing clients.
Oh, I'm sure.
You being willing to come in here and deal with it while I got the setup just right, because this is the first, nobody's wanted to play with me and my crap until today. And you're always
playing in your crap.
You're always a glutton for punishment. That's my friend Slade from SladeMadeFitness.com. Slade Made Fitness at trainerzonefitness.com.
I know, it's a mouthful, right?
Slade Made Fitness at gmail.com. And yeah, I'd like to say that I appreciate you showing up. We're going to do more of these. If you'd like to be a guest on Beyond Barbering, leave a comment. Show up early, show up often. Once again, be good or don't get caught.